Hi guys, I'm like to explain in more detail uh, what's required and how to do simulation number two, which really involves chapter 7, in particular the two-sample t-test for comparing two averages, and um, using mostly Excel, but some StatCrunch to satisfy this assignment. So let's begin with a little bit of some concepts. When you want to compare two averages, what you really want to do is compare two populations. For example, what is the male salary in some industry with 150,000 people to the female salary? But you can't access every single person, so you take a sample. And the question is, are the two sample averages close enough for us to say they're statistically similar, or what's called not statistically different, or they're far apart, in which case you would determine they are not the same. So to do that, one of the tests that we use in the general category of statistical inference is the two-sample t-test, and in particular, there are three versions of that. One is called the dependent, when the two groups are related, say husband and wife, for example, which is not the case here. Well, the second case is when they're independent, just a bunch of people in one group, a bunch of people in the other group, they don't know each other. A further refinement in the two-sample t-test, there are two versions. One is when the variance of the two populations are considered the same or very close, or another version when the variances are not the same. We're going to use the version where they're basically the same. And finally, you can have a one-tailed or a two-tailed, which again is concepts that I explain in more detail in my YouTube lectures. The book talks about it, and it's found in some other examples, but we'll be doing the two-tailed or non-directional hypothesis testing in this simulation number 2. So let's begin at the beginning. I I actually rewrote it. Some of you might be, if you go back to it, it's going to be different than the previous version you saw on MyLab. That involved using StatCrunch, but I decided it's easier to do it in Excel and redid it for Excel. So the first step is to generate the two samples. Um, I want each sample to contain 35 numbers, and it should be two samples. So let's do that. I'm going to go into Excel. Oh, I have to share the screen, right? Let's do that. Share the screen. Out of Excel. Share the screen. I hope we did that for the other video. So let's go. You just see my screen. Let's get into Excel. And it's real simple. Blank version. Let's go to, where's my mouse not working? My mouse is not working. Okay, my mouse is working again. I don't know why it shuts off. Anyway, let's call the first group sample 1. Let's call the sample 2. Sample 1 is going to consist of numbers in the population of, as we did in the first simulation, from 0 to 9, the integers between 0 and 9, and it's not working again. And it's going to be equals ran between 0, 9. I spelled something wrong. Ran between, there's an extra E there. Okay, and I happened to pick the number 1. Then we can get a quick create both samples simultaneously. So the other number in sample one. Oh, every time you touch it, it changes, which is a little annoying, but that shows that it's random. So let's drag this down from row 2 to row 36 to have, we now have 35 pairs of numbers. I would like to calculate the mean of each number equals average, parenthesis, and I can either say A2 to whatever, to A36, hit enter, and the average is 5.27. This one is, I can just drag this over. This random average is 4.4. Now it changes, of course, each time you touch it. And now we'd like to have the p-value. What is the p-value for the test, the two-sample t-test? So again, it's going to be oh, I'm sorry, one more thing I want to have. What is the difference between the averages? Now they're both coming from samples, populations with averages around 4.5, but between 0 and 9, the average is 4.5. So they both should be very similar. So the difference between them should be close to 0. Let's see what we actually have. It's equals, that's E37 minus B37. That number actually is, I don't know why it changed to one decimal place, but it did nicely. I'm happy about that because I was going to do that, but I don't know why it's automatic. So the difference is close to 0. It's about 0.6, pretty close. And now comes the p-value. Equals t-test, parenthesis. You tell it where the numbers are found. In this case, it's the first group of numbers is here. Put a comma. Second group of numbers is found here. Oh, I'm sorry, should have been 36. I'm changing this to 36, not the means themselves. You want to do a independent t-test. So it tells you two-tailed t-test, you put a 2. And then you want to have the two-sample equal variance, almost stochastic is a fancy name. And it generates a p-value, which is 0.09. Now remember, p-values that are less than whatever the alpha is usually 0.05. So from that point of view, it's going to be no difference between the two groups as we expected. But, again, the numbers keep changing. But we really want to use an alpha of 10% in this particular exercise. You'll see why. But we want to generate this thing here. We want to do it 20 times. So let's keep moving this along. Now we did it for 10 of them, which is 5 pairs of numbers with 5 p-values. I went wrong here. See how far out we can go. We have to go out to 40. See some mistakes here. To 43. So let's erase everything past this point. We don't need it. Delete. So now we have generated our 20 pairs of tests. We want to compare the first to the second column. That means all the difference are 0. That's strange. Because I guess rounded to one decimal place. I don't know why these numbers are changing okay, let's just change it to one decimal place throughout. Format cells, number, let's make it 2 decimal places. Okay, so we have 5.2. Oh, they're really amazing. Okay, so sorry, I'm not sure if I was talking into the microphone. So this is how you would generate the numbers. We now have 20 p-values. Again, since there really is no difference between them, the p-value should be generally very high. Here it's the highest possible. So it implies the averages are the same. That happened. That's unlikely, but it was the case, it seems. The second p-value is 0.18. But every now and then you should see, we did this correctly, a p-value lower than 10, which in this case was 0.06. At least one of them. Did this get screwed up here? Yeah, something got screwed up here. Let me change the. Let me get rid. After this point, it looks okay until this point. Let's get rid of this. Delete. Oh, I have another problem here. Why is that? Oh, I think I'm being messed up here. Let's have this. Gotta be delete. Okay. So let's go now and take this last two pairs and pull them over. So you have to highlight them explicitly. Grab it over here in the corner and pull it out from another 10 more, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know, around here. And we have up to 40 and 41. Same up to here. Delete. So again, we have p-values. We have one, again, they may have changed, but now we have one at 0.04, which is lower than 10%. We may have another one. Here's another one. So 2 out of 20, which is exactly 10%, have made the type 1 error. Now, I don't want to do this assignment for you and go, but that's exactly something you're going to focus on and try to talk about. Okay, so let's see what we did so far. We did part 1 of generating numbers. Created that table of differences. I guess I send this, and I made a big deal about not sending in Excel files, to send it as Word, but I think in this case the Excel file is pretty, it's a little clear once you produce this file. And then you're going to answer questions 2, create the table, which we just did. Part 2 is a thought question. Part 3 was the average of all the differences. What is the average of all these numbers? 4.6 is the, I'm sorry, the first difference is minus 26, positive 37, positive 23, minus 66. In the case of a small p-value, it's probably going to be a relatively big difference, 1.34. What is the average of all those numbers? I'll let you do that. I'll talk about that. Anyway, that's my demo for simulation number 2. I hope that helps. If not, of course, you'll ask me further questions. Stop sharing.